Welcome to Museum Archipelago. I'm Ian Elsner. Museum Archipelago guides you through the rocky landscape of museums. Each episode is never longer than 15 minutes. So let's get started.
Hello, my name is Vassil Makarinov. I'm a curator in the National Polytechnic Museum in Sofia.
One of Makarinov's early childhood memories was visiting the National Technical Museum in Prague in the Czech Republic.
And it was one very big museum with locomotives, with cars, with many engines there. And me as a child, it was something very interesting. It's something really.
And so you are recreating a little bit of that here.
Yes. Coming here, I remember this experience from my childish years. And I see this type of museum also here. And my ambition is to this museum to be some of the most interesting here for the children. Like this museum in Prague was interesting to me over there.
The Bulgarian National Polytechnical Museum tells the history of technology with cases of artifacts, ranging from simple machines to bikes and cars to 20th century household appliances to Bulgarian-made computers of the 1980s.
Actually, unlike the other museums, which show only the history of the state, the history of the world, we show the history through the point of view of the techniques. The techniques in Bulgaria and the techniques in the world, because all the techniques that come here in Bulgaria come simultaneously like in all other countries.
The history of Bulgaria is always right underneath the surface. The building that houses the Bulgarian National Polytechnical Museum, a rather drab building not uncommon in Sofia, used to be a museum dedicated to Georgi Dimitrov, the first communist leader of Bulgaria. The socialist government collapsed in 1989, and the first permanent collection of the Bulgarian National Polytechnical Museum opened in 1991. Looking through the technology on display, you can guess the era in which they were produced by understanding Bulgaria's trading partners. In the interwar period, with Germany and France, and during the socialist times, with the Soviet Union.
In Bulgaria, actually, in this period, between the two world wars, we have not so big production of things, but we have imported many objects from Western Europe, which were adapted to our market, actually, with typewriters, with Cyrillic alphabet, machinery with our electricity voltage, and so on. After the coming of the new government, the things changed a little because we were connected more closely to Soviet Union, and maybe our policy was not so individual. I mean that the culture here has been, the techniques, the education here has been connected with all that happens there. There is one very interesting example. In 1960, the factory of Balkan in the town of Lovech has been introducing the first Bulgarian car. But due to several political issues, Bulgaria was not allowed to produce any cars, actually.
Because the Soviet Union decided that another country would produce the cars.
Yes, actually about this planning economy that doesn't allows you to do what you want to do.
Right. Another interesting thing to me about the Soviet time is the use of technology to prevent things from happening rather than the use of technology to enable things to happen. So you showed me some radios, both from the interwar period in the 20s and 30s and later in the Soviet times. And can you tell me a little bit about the ways that the technology, for example, in communications technology, was produced to not enable someone in the Bulgarian market to access a certain band of the radio, for example?
Only some periods. Actually, during the Second World War, early 40s, the governance has closed some of the radio stations that has come from the countries which were added to Bulgaria and Germany, because Bulgaria was with Germany during the war.
Right.
After the World War and after the coming of the new regime, there was a system that has been putting noise in broadcasting programs like Free Europe, Radio Swobodna Europa, and so on, to not have access to Western culture, to Western propaganda in their words, and so on.
Bulgaria also played an important role in early computer design, producing computers in use throughout the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc countries.
We have here produced PCs, personal computers, since the early 80s. These are private computers, like this computer IMCO number 2, which is also in our exhibition here. It is interesting that the software of privates is very similar to this of Apple.
Apple II.
Yes, Apple II, because some of the researchers think that this is something like a technical investigation that has been made in the time when the Apple was introduced.
So maybe some Soviet Bulgarian scientists took a look at the Apple. They said, interesting how this works. Maybe we can take some of the ideas.
Actually, yes.
And how, just a general number, how many people had access to one of these computers? Because it was not necessarily for home use.
Actually, it was for maybe not for home. It was actually for business, for administration, actually, and for educational activities.
Like learning how to program.
Yes, actually for learning how to use this program, actually, because it was the beginning of the computer era. At first, there were only 50 computers of this type produced.
Really?
50.
Wow.
Yes.
And then later on there were more.
Yes, later on there were more, but a little more. But actually, the first type of these computers was in some schools, like in some universities, and in administration.
In addition to the physical artifacts, the museum has a broader mission to educate the Bulgarian public, particularly children, about the importance of understanding physics and technology.
As a part of our mission, we have the work with the children. The children from 6 to 12 years old, which means that this is the first years in the school, the time when the child starts learning the world around it. So it's very important for us to show them that the technique is everywhere, and technique is something very important for us. Everything around us works with technique, with science, and so on. We have this summer school that happens now in the museum. With the children, they come each morning, and they come. They stay here in the museum, and we, the tour guides in the museum, made them some educational activities like talking about exhibits, telling stories about the exhibits. One very interesting experiment with the cage of Faraday.
Yes.
He's one scientist that discovered that if some lightning comes to someone, and if he's in this cage made of iron, the electricity comes only on the outer side of the cage, and the person inside the cage is absolutely alive. He is absolutely safe inside the cage. So we have this type of cage here in the museum, in the demonstration physics cabinet, and we try this on children. Maybe it sounds strange, but we show that that everyone may trust the physics.
And the kids that are coming to your museum, the kids that are between 6 and 12 years old, they are also intimately familiar with technology, with communications technology, in the way that you weren't when you were a kid.
Yes, it's very interesting to see them in front of this telephone post, because this telephone post has this type of
I don't know what those words is either, but it's a circular dialing system.
Every time when the children come in the museum, and if they see this circular typing system of the telephone receivers and so on. They don't know how to use this. But according to me, it is very familiar to use because in my childish years, I have used this type of phones, actually.
Right.
They don't know how to put their fingers on the certain number and to turn it.
As technology plays a bigger and bigger role in our everyday lives, so too does the mission of museums like the Bulgarian National Polytechnical Museum. By presenting technological artifacts within their historical contexts, the museum teaches both how history affects technology and how technology affects history.
Yes, the political and the economic history and so on is very close connected to the technology, to the all these things that has happened in the technology. I think that technology is something very, very nice. But the thing is that that not every time people understand it, and they are not using in their best way.
This has been Museum Archipelago. We hope you enjoyed your visit. As you leave, consider becoming a member of Club Archipelago. In exchange, you'll get a members-only bonus podcast. This week, we visit Tsari Maligrad, a new museum complex in Bulgaria. You can join for $2 a month at patreon.com/museumarchipelago. For more information or to submit feedback, go to museumarchipelago.com or museum_go on Twitter. Next time, bring a friend.